in terms of inspiration, could you talk about specifically the characters of Georgie and Jason and what kind of you were trying to develop with those two roles?
Is it terrible that I feel like I've been talking about this all day, but I've still totally forgotten it, or my answer's just always bad? I don't know. The characters. What are you saying, Harris and Theo? Do you want to start it off and then I'll jump onto the back of your answer?
Vote it. It's a question for you.
Theo kind of co-wrote it, isn't it? At times, I would say. I don't know. I think maybe this is maybe not character specific, but I think like we always spoke about like making a working class film that was like full of joy and where like people kind of weren't defined by their class or the hardships of their class, and it was just like characters that were allowed to exist in their own joyful world. And I think like Jason and Georgie came out with that, you know, flawed characters that I feel like me and Theo argued a mad amount. I was like, look, they're not going to fix any of their flaws because that's not realistic. None of us doing it, or we wouldn't drop so much cash on therapy. They were like very flawed kind of people, and they start it flawed and they end it flawed, but hopefully they're going to slowly, like all of us, chip away over like 30 years, you know? That's it. That's what I've got. I'm sorry.
No, you apologise. That's absolutely fine. I think we can work with that. It's an opener. Harris and Lola, I guess like you've obviously been doing this a while now. You've read a lot of scripts, but what was it about this kind of part that really like spoke to you?
Me?
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought you were talking to Theo. He's read a lot of scripts. I guess similar to what Charlie's saying about class and representation around class, it felt like there hadn't been a lot of films like this, and I don't think I'd been in the mix for a role in this world that wasn't sort of leaning into the drabness of or like kitchen sink drama sort of niche of British social realism. So yeah, it was a new foray into it, and also it felt like a challenge to step into like a father role, as I'm only like 27, and it felt like a kind of challenge in a way, and even though I didn't have to take much responsibility for it, there was a sort of a fear to it. And obviously I'd worked with Charlotte before and Theo before, so it felt like something I really wanted to do.
But your journey was very different to this film, Lola. It was completely different, in fact. Could you talk a little about how you came to this role? I know that Home Bargains played an unexpected role, which I was very excited about.
It was a little bit unexpected at first because my mum's friend Carice tagged her in like an advert to audition, and then I didn't actually know what it was about. Apparently there was something I was supposed to talk about in the video, but I went completely off task with that and I just spoke about Home Bargains the whole time.
And you watched that and were just like, yep, Home Bargains, and she gets it. She absolutely understands this character.
Yeah, we still, to this day, don't use the name Lola. It's just Home Bargains Girl, innit? But yeah, the tape was like proper magical because you were like doing accents and that. You started it by saying like, all right, governor, yeah. And it was pretty epic. And I keep telling everyone this, I hope I'm not making it up. You like do an incredible recreation of like the iconic EastEnders scene, innit? With Kat. Yes, you do. And you showed us that quite early on. We would like go to Lola's house to do improvs and stuff, or Theo would do the improvs, like, and I would just like observe. It's the joy of being a director, innit? You don't have to show yourself off as much as Theo has to.
Somehow that's the producer's job.
It's always that role. But you do incredible, like, and play every character. Obviously, in the EastEnders scene, we don't get to play a character. Lola is Kat; she's everyone. So yeah, just like very epic and incredible from the start.
And how important was it to you that you found an actress that didn't have any acting experience? Did you do a lot of kind of like looking through the lookbooks and the kind of like speaking to casting agents, or were you just like, no, I need someone who's going to be able to bring the authenticity to the role?
Yeah, I don't think we ever went the traditional kind of route. We were always like keen to go this way, and Shaheen was our casting director, who like is just incredible at casting like young people in these roles in particular. But I don't know, I think I'd worked with a lot of street cast young people on music videos in the past, and I always find like the energy they bring to set is just so different. I mean, like Lola would like kick off about the snack quality every day, which maybe you wouldn't have got from like. They were bad.
Welcome to showbiz.
They were bad, but yeah, complaints every
Some
day.
of them were good.
Thanks.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
I wasn't
Thanks,
making them. But yeah. But yeah, otherwise the like joy that you have on set, like Alan, who's not here, you'd like change lens and he'd be like, "Oh my god, you've changed lens! That is mad!" He was like just so excited by everything, and I find that is like quite contagious to the set and to the crew, where we all like realize we're doing quite a fun job, and that helps what comes across in the film, hopefully.
Yeah, you want it to feel like you're playing and kind of experimenting and developing a rapport across cast and crew rather than like being a marshal of an army. Lola and Harris, I'd love to kind of know how much you guys kind of talked about the characters, or were you just more kind of like, let's improv, let's like keep it loose?
During the rehearsal, we were left alone a lot. We would get told to like learn the script, but then we'd just stand there for like 15 minutes kicking a tree or something. Didn't really get much of it done.
We had like a 2-week period where we were in a school like playground, and Charlotte would be like, "All right, I'm gonna leave you to it for a bit. When I come back, I want to hear it." And we'd be like, "Should go play in the corner?" And we'd just like kick ball for a bit, or like, and then Charlotte would come back and we'd be like, "Oh God," and we'd sort of have to just like wing it. But no, we didn't talk about. I feel like, did we talk about the characters? Not really. No.
You said we'd do it on the day.
You said you'd do it on the day.
think you did.
You didn't want to rehearse.
You
Yeah.
did as well.
But you did it on the day, to be fair. So it was always very good. So you can't really argue with that.
It's all there on the screen.
Yeah.
We got there in the end. I heard a kind of mad story which I'd love to hear more about, which was the Spider-Man who brought you your spiders to set. Could we talk about that a little bit?
Feelings probably. I think I get in trouble every time I talk about any sort of detail, and then he's like, "No, like don't say that. It makes it sound bad." So Theo, if you could retell this story, innit?
Well, I think there's an aspect to wrangling spiders where you freeze them.
Right.
We didn't understand this. So he would bring on, initially how it was written, we had like a range of different spiders, different characters. And he would bring them on and they just wouldn't move. So then we freaked out and thought they were dead. And then he like had a tarantula in his pocket and he was like, "Guys, do you want to have a play with this?" Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Yeah. And then
I wouldn't have done the film if I'd known this.
it's just as well then. But yeah, he was just a bit of a character, to be honest. And I think possibly we lost a spider along the way. I can't be held responsible for that. Charlie can answer to that one. But yeah.
It sounds like you got them coming out
She
of
was
the ears. So.
she was pushing the spiders hard. She was looking for that performance.
They've unionised since.
Yeah.
She's not here with us, but Molly Manning Walker, the cinematographer, does an absolutely amazing job. We've got some woos in the audience. Yeah, there's some more woos from Molly Manning Walker. Could you talk about finding the film's visual identity with Molly and how the characters became part of that? Because obviously, like their outfits and Harris's incredible Eminem style shaved head, like really like bring a lot to the film as well. So I'd love to hear more about what you were going for with the colour and the tone of the film.
Yeah, Molly like is incredible like as a DP, but she directs as well. She's just directed her first feature, which one at Cannes, Icon and that, yeah. So she was just great at like, as well as having such a visual idea, she would help with everything. Like when I was doing terrible, I'd be like, "Can you just do my job for me?" And she'd be like, "Yes, I'll tag in, innit, because you're knackered today." With yeah, it was real tag team vibes. But I think we always like the painted houses and things like that was something we always pushed, I think because of that like joyful kind of working class world thing again. But then we were like very aware that like if it pours down with rain, you know, even Molly Manning Walker herself can only do so much to make it look cinematic. So we kind of pushed the costumes and the locations to kind of give us that visual style. And we both came up through music videos, so I think we were always keen to like cut pages down and do that, which Theo was like, oh, it can't be too short. People start to get judgmental if it goes below 80, it's got to hit that right mark, innit? So I think he was like battling us every day, and we had terrible visual references that I'm sure came to mind for everyone, but our biggest reference was Born Ultimatum throughout the whole process. So you can all see it in it now.
Yeah,
I've said
I
it.
came out and was like, Born Ultimatum.
Thank you so much.
What was it about Bourne, out of curiosity? Now, like, before we go into the whole, like, how good is Jason Bourne, but, like, what was it about that film specifically?
Just like, super energetic, cinematic, the police chase.
It's the chase sequence.
It's the,
okay, right, okay.
We
Yeah.
shot it together
Shocked
like
that you didn't
Born
realise
Ultimatum. Yeah. Come on. Amount of times we
Direct
watched
copy.
it.
Shot for shot.
It's pretty much the same as the chase that he starts the
Yeah,
film
Matt
with.
Damon's
so-
going to be watching this and going, I want to see this somewhere.
Yeah, gonna want to feel. Yeah.
I realise this is a tough question to ask any cast and crew, but I'd really like to hear about the enduring kind of scene or moment from the on-set experience for all of you.
I don't know what the word enduring means, so I'm someone else to answer
The one
first.
thing.
Theo?
The most memorable moment for me was when day one with Lola, and she was playing opposite an amazing actress called Olivia Brady, and we were a little bit nervous about Lola because in the journey of casting her, she was quite shy, and sometimes when it would get intimidating, she would barely give us a word. And so right up until the shoot, we were like, me and Charlotte were like thinking, okay, so we're going to introduce a camera now, or we're going to introduce Harris now, and then there was always this nervousness around day one. And on day one, we did the scene with the voicemail where it's sort of that flashback of her with her mother, and we knew it was going to be like an incredibly emotional scene, and Lola just turned it on, and all of the worries just disappeared, and that was kind of a signal of the way it was going to be. Like Lola would mess with us and be like, yeah, I don't really fancy it today, and then just as the camera turned over, then she would smash it. So that was a major turning point for me in terms of my anxiety.
And on day one, you're like, okay, phew, okay, so I think we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
For the rest of you,
I don't know
put
what it
you all on the
means.
spot.
Just
Like
like a
a
memorable
nice moment.
Yeah. We had a lot of fun on the train and the metal detecting day. That was the last shot of the shoot as well. We were like in the big air hangar, and me and Lola just got to like mess around for like 20 minutes. The camera just rolled, and then there was also a sense of like, oh, this is our last bit. So I feel like there was this is it.
Happy
Like,
to be done.
I'm just happy to be done. I'm knackered. No, but it was like, okay, that we'd reached a level of like camaraderie as well. So everyone, there was a real like energy of accomplishment, and yeah.
Got your dance moves out.
Got my dancing out. We got to do the moves. It wasn't good.
Could have done a lot better.
Could have done better. Yeah. Well,
I feel like we need to get Lola making a film because like
I know.
I know.
she's like, I mean, I've got a little bit of experience in this, but you're like years ahead of me.
Yeah.
You're just perceptive when I was your age.
Honestly, sometimes I would do things and like I'd do like a performance and she'd be like, "What was that?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, what was that?" Like, not a clue what it was. She was like so brutally honest. It was great.
Charlotte and Theo, I mean, I guess we've talked a little bit about class as well, but what was it about telling a story like this that made you feel like you had to tell it like right now when you kind of went into production on the film?
I don't know that we did think we had to tell it right now. I don't think we ever think. Maybe you think about these things more than me. I feel like it was just the incredible Eva Yates at the BBC being like, stop making short films, just make a feature now. Too many short films and they're getting worse. So I think it was that vibe that I got from her. And she was like, just make a feature now, like stop it with the shorts. Yeah.
Well, we were meant to make it in 2020, and then COVID happened. So yeah, there was a real sense of like we've got to make it now. We've waited for a year, and we knew that we had to shoot it in the school holidays because Lola was going to be in every scene of the film. But we made a documentary I think the year before that, in 2019, me and Charlotte made a documentary for The Guardian called No Ball Games, and that was like massively influential on the film, and it gave us huge inspiration. So I think that was the moment when we were like, okay, we kind of know what the film is now, we're ready to make it. And like Charlie was saying, Eva thankfully agreed with that.
How did you find that transition as well from moving to shorts to features? Because obviously like it is considered like the big step up for short filmmakers to do that, and I think there's a lot of amazing filmmakers who have gone from doing short films to features, and now we only think of them as like, oh yeah, this incredible feature filmmaker. But for you, you've got a really like quite prolific history in short films. So what was the kind of biggest challenge for you when you were thinking in terms of making something 3 times the length of normal? Well, normal for you.
I don't know. I think partly it was just like the stamina of like constantly finding a new energy for a story that you're sitting with for so long, and like having to keep trying to see it fresh. And particularly in the edit, like I felt like we was editing like the Lord of the Rings sequel, because it was just like all I'm looking at is this edit room, and Theo put us in like such a grim edit room as well. Like it was so grim. It was like a shipping container with like hardly any windows, and he was just like, it was grim. It was like such a dead time.
We moved that.
So that was just the stamina of the edit in particular, and having to keep rewatching this cut. And like in the edit, I kind of like an edit in that like you just kind of have to realize you have fucked some things up and they can't be fixed, innit? That's just life, innit? I kind of like the finality of that, I suppose. But having to constantly kind of like reinvent, and you know, it went on for such a long time. I'm saying that like it was years, but it felt like years. And it was the same with the script, you know, like I often, when I'm rewriting, will kind of just totally start again, because I just go off things the longer I sit with them. And it's it's Theo who has to constantly be like, no, you can't do that. Once a film's greenlit, you can't do a pay with John rewrite and change the main character. And so it's just the stamina thing, I think, and like still finding a love for a project that you're growing with, I guess.
It's so funny. I remember speaking to a couple of filmmakers who've gone from shorts to features, and the edit is the one thing they're all like, I never want to do that again. And I'm like, you're gonna have to though. That's the problem. Right?
What's your favourite question?
I do find it hard to remember, weirdly. Super uninspiring, but it started as a like very different film. It was like about like a teenage grandson and his nan who were like trying to escape drug dealers, and it was much more like Guy Ritchie-esque with like loads of crime and like shootouts and all that kind of vibe. And it, luckily Theo let me do a page one rewrite on that one, so so I can, because it's like evolved and like come out of so many different elements, there wasn't ever like one part of it, which probably shows in like the mismatchy plot at times, that I was never obsessed with one central story. I think we looked a lot into like grief in particular, how young people grieve, and how much that like differs to adults. Like I'd read a lot, like when I was experiencing it, like of books where we like try and give like logical explanations for grief, or we try and make it like an academic kind of process. And when I started reading like children's books that were about it, or like content like that, they just like sit in the emotions and are very present. And I suppose there was something in that where I was like, we could all do with kind of finding a bit more of that in our grief process. So I guess some of it came from that, or I don't know if I've just made that up for like artistic answer because I'd ruined it with the first one. Yeah, bit of both, isn't it? Yeah.
No, I think it's also like, maybe I'm projecting here as a working class kid, but like you kind of have to get over things quicker, because it's like there's not time to kind of sit around and think about things. You gotta go out and get money for food, and like you can't just sit around and be miserable. And something I found quite refreshing is that there is like a realization that you need time to think about these things and grieve and give yourself space. I thought it was very refreshing.
I'm going to write your answers down.
That's what I'm here for.
Well, you guys didn't know, did you? So.
What did you know? We knew about COVID.
You weren't on the film yet.
Kept him in the dark. You did say we shouldn't go out on the weekend.
I did say that, yeah.
Which is fair enough.
So our film was greenlit in January of 2020, and me and Charlotte had been developing it for 2.5 years up to that point. And obviously that's like a huge moment for first-time filmmakers. And we started casting, and we were looking for the role of Georgie, and it was all becoming quite real, and Shaheen was doing an amazing job, and we'd found like a couple of girls that felt like they could be right. And then COVID happened, and it was a really weird sense of like, you've got to kind of like what felt like at that point the top of the mountain, but obviously it was a long way from that. And then the momentum was just like cut dead. But yeah, as you say, like everyone in this room had a version of that. But I think for me and Charlie, it was like a experience of like, from, you know, at first we were like, oh, give it 2 months. Well, we still have a chance of shooting in July of 2020 or whatever. So it was a continual like reassessment of like, or expectation management for yourself of like, I still want to stay excited about this. I still want to stay inspired. And then it became, you know, what it was. And then a couple of months after COVID, Charlie was like, I've had a complete rethink on the script. Let's start again, which was terrifying, to be honest, but also made the script way better. I don't know if that answers your question at all, but
came a different film. That's what you're saying. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
Lola?
That I could improvise. That's the only thing I can think of.
You can improvise, yeah. 10 out of 10 improv skills, for
Best
sure.
out there, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was just because you'd give me something to go off of, and then I'd just waffle for ages.
You would. Incredible at just talking rubbish for hours on end. Yeah.
It helped you though.
It did. It's made the film. Co-writer right here. Yeah. I pay for all your McDonald's, so I feel like that's payback for the writing that you offered me.
I was just going to say something about like preparation, because I feel like for years I've always been proper hard on myself in terms of like, I think coming from school, I was really bad in school. So when I entered into the industry, I really like was quite diligent with like prep and script work and character work. And I always thought that was like fundamental to turning in something half decent. And then you work with like younger performers like Lola and Alan that are just kind of like coming in every day with a certain amount of like, see what happens. And like, no offense to you, obviously, like you're amazing. And like, that I think it made me realize that comes in like prep and work comes in different forms, and just like hammering at a script. It's actually about like time spent in the right areas, and even just us like knocking about, doing kicking a tree. Like it was, yeah, certain amount of freedom that came with it, which was for me something I learned about myself. But yeah, what about you, Charlie?
Maybe that I'm like really bad at getting coverage. Not as deep of an answer, but one of our editors, Billy, was like, "Why have you shot so many scenes just on one shot? Like now I've got to use entire takes and I can't cut around it." And then I did a TV show recently, and they were like, "What are you doing? Like, we need the mid, the close up, the wide." And I was like, "What do you mean? But you can just play it all in this arty shot of like the glass of water." And they were like, "No, that's not how it works." So yeah, coverage. I get a lot more coverage on the go now. What about you, Theo? Deep or light? What you going?
I don't know. Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, very little. No, the thing that I learned was just like Lola, basically, like the capability of, how old were you at that point? 11 years old?
I think so.
Yeah, and there was so much, I mean, probably I was feeling it more than most people, but it felt like a big moment and a lot of pressure. And then to watch an 11-year-old just like step up and be like, yeah. as Harris was saying, just like, it's fine. Yeah. Like, she would actually make me feel less stressed, because it was like, it's completely fine. So I think Lola taught me to sort of let go of the stress, let it wash over me, and just enjoy it a bit.
Sounds like Lola was really carrying this film, guys. So.
She should have a producer credit, a writer credit.
I think they were in completely different time zones, so I don't know if that would be in any relation to these guys' films. I do know that when I worked with Charlotte and Theo, I still am like passionate about doing different like formats and like working with like new filmmakers, because I want to make films as well, and I feel like it's a lot of actors get to a point and they're like, I'm just going to do a certain thing now, or I'm just going to like only do like some big budget telly thing, and then you sort of lose elements of the process. I think you lose there's a different energy on a short or on a debut film. Like on this, for example, everyone was like coming at it with this like tenacity of like, okay, every single person on the crew wants it to be good because they want it to be good for their work as well. And that doesn't always happen on, I think, the bigger things, because people are sort of just working to, pay the bills and stuff. Whereas on a smaller thing, it's like, it's not about the economics. It's really about people coming together and trying to do something for the director and all like work together in the best way to like get the right thing for the team that have built it, from the ground up. So I love it because of that. And I think that answers it a little bit. Yeah.
Unfortunately, that is all we've got time for. I just want everyone to give a big round of applause to Charlotte.